It's been 6 weeks since an emergency was declared in British Columbia, a little over a month since we were asked to just stay home. We're just beginning to get it, to understand the seriousness of this pandemic. We know the truth of the need to just stay home so we can slow the spread of this killing virus. But even with that knowledge, we hesitate to make the needed changes. We want to do something, anything we might still, somehow, consider normal. Even during Easter weekend, the call went out to stay home and forego that trip to the family cabin. Most listened, some did not. We'll know in the weeks to come the price of that decision. Every day, I try to listen to what Dr. Henry tells us. I work to follow her advice. Some days it's easy, but some days I almost am jumping out of my skin with the need to be anywhere but my little apartment, sitting on the couch. The scene outside my window looks tempting, with spring finally arriving and the trees in bloom. It looks all too much like every other spring we've known, but it isn't. And we're just beginning to understand that deep in our bones. Lately, I find that when I do venture out for that short walk in the neighborhood, or I grab my mask to head out to the madness of the local grocery store for a few supplies, I can't wait to get back to the safety of my home. I've begun to feel uncomfortable anywhere but home. The lines, the masks, the need to feel normal, they override my best intentions at times. It seems as if one of the side effects of this pandemic is we're all developing a bit of agoraphobia. On the other hand, as a senior who just retired last year, I feel lucky to be healthy and independent. I can shop at the local farmer's market and feel safe. It feels reassuring to talk to the vendors I've come to know, to chat amongst ourselves about the changes that we see. At the same time, I know the price so many others are paying for this pandemic. As a retired senior, I want to be careful how much exposure I have, so I'm only doing volunteer work I can do from home. Even buses seem scary. That pretty much limits me to things like keeping a diary like this or meeting with friends on Zoom get-togethers. Luckily, New Westminster is filled with good friends. Friends I call in times like this. Many, like me, are retired. But as I discovered when doing these interviews, we're all facing different challenges during the pandemic. Mary Wilson is someone who's been an active part of New Westminster ever since she arrived here 60 years ago as a teenager. I would often see her at City Council meetings. We were both on the board of New Westminster Environmental Partners, and when she began the Walkers Caucus campaigning for better walking conditions in New Westminster, I joined. We met to talk at one of our favorite places, the Brunette River, to talk about life before COVID and now. She told me of her memories of life during World War II and how it compares to a current battle against an invisible enemy.
You know, they've been talking about the war on on COVID-19 and talking about treating this like World War II. And I was there. I was there. You know, and one of the first things I was thinking, well, you know, we had rationing back then. You didn't go to the store and hoard. You didn't go and grab everything off the shelf that you wanted. Everybody had a book, and each book said, how much sugar do you want? You're allowed a cup. There's your cup. Don't come back. You know, and you know, it doesn't matter who you were. Kids, I had a ration book. I was a little kid. Everybody, you got your ration, but there was a serious attempt from the very beginning to say we all have to share this, which didn't happen here. You know, it was left up to the individual store owners to start rationing. And it should have, somehow or other, that should have been anticipated, and there should have been some kind of a decision to try and curb that from day one. If we're all in this together, I mean, you know, I wrote up that blog for the Walkers Caucus website that just went up a couple of days ago, which said the annual Walk 30's been cancelled. You know, that was the project Challenging Burnaby. The change walks cancelled. Sorry, we can't get together and have conversations. And of course, our own meetings have been cancelled
Yeah.
because A, you can't have a meeting, and B, the library's closed anyway. So, you know, so it's cleared the decks of all the projects that I was doing, and I have been faced with a list of things to do that I've had for years. All the nasty stuff which I relegated to the bottom, I'm now going for the bottom. And it's not stuff I want to do. I have masses of things to do, masses, but it's different. It's all stuff that, oh God, I got to mend the fence. Oh God, I've got to weed the grass. Oh God. Yeah. So it's stuff that I really don't want to do. The other side of that is, now that I can't hop on the bus and go and spend the day exploring Langley, I want to. I really want to. I really want. Now that I can't go down to the library in downtown Vancouver and pick up a couple of 3 really interesting books after hanging around for 2 or 3 hours, now I really want to, but I can't do it. So,
Mary and I got together again a few days later at a vastly different looking river market to talk about how our lives had changed and how we think it may look after.
you know, what I really miss most, is the library. Any library. A library for me is one of the most important things in the community. There's a plaque on the wall of the library in Westminster which says, you have a garden and a library, you have everything. Well, it's not so much if you have a garden, it's if you can get outside into an outside space, you know, and a putter. It doesn't have to be a garden, but it has to be someplace like, if you have a library, actually if you have a pile of books, and I'm running low, I'm down to my last 10, and then what do you do? What do you do? And even when the library opens, I'm afraid to go in and take books out because I know that they've gone through a huge sterilization project and every book they brought back. You know, my life since I was this high has revolved around books and libraries. That one is a huge loss and a growing worry. As the number of books I haven't read yet shrinks, the concern grows. Projects like Walk 30, which was saying, oh, walk is lovely, come out and enjoy. You know, so it's a great book. All a matter of saying, you're going to love it, come out and enjoy. Those are the carrot to get people to change their behavior. COVID is the stick, you know, to change the behavior. It's not, come on out, you know, do this. We've been forced to make changes. Whether it's different when if you make a change, whether it's more difficult to make a change because you choose to, rather than being forced to, I don't know. But the change, if it goes on long enough, is going to mean people have changed their behavior and got into new habits. And that'll be interesting because I notice already that coming out of City Hall is this, we're going to shut down some of the traffic lanes and turn them over to cyclists and pedestrians. That's what they were talking about doing for climate change over the next 10, 15 years. Hey, this is the opportunity. Do it now. Try it now. See if it works. And if it works, who knows? Maybe we'll achieve that climate strategy way earlier than we thought. Right.
But Mary's question about how emerging technology may change her role in New Westminster is only part of the story. 1 month in, our lives are irrevocably changed. Sometimes the impact is in unexpected ways. My next interview is with a friend I met through a women's networking group when we both had our own businesses. Recently retired, Connie was already going through changes when COVID hit. The moving target that was our response to it affected her in some very unexpected ways.
My life pre-COVID was a lot more social than it is now, of course. I spent a lot of time with my sisters. We would go to aquasize class between 3 and 5 times a week. And usually there was a coffee or a meal that would come after it. So it'd be nice visit time with my sisters. And then once a week on Saturdays, I would meet up with my extended family. There'd usually be between 8 and 10 people there, somewhere in that range. And other than that, pretty quiet life, as I'm a solitary person. Most of the rest of my time was spent on the computer, either socializing by computer or else doing work for my meditation company. My meditation business is, well, the company is called Totally Meditation. Basically, it consists mainly of articles on a website, and I am eventually going to be working back towards doing audios and maybe some videos, but mostly audios for resale, and very small in-home classes. So I'd have between 3 and 6 people on an average class. And for special events, it could be up to about 12 people. It was very casual and cozy. That, of course, is not happening for a while.
An unexpected challenge was being in the middle of buying a new home when the just stay home orders and social distancing requirements came along. These brought her some challenges of their own.
Really interesting about the move is the change in even behaviors in the large organizations, like going to the bank to arrange interim financing, was during the time when things were just heating up around COVID and rules were changing quickly. I was in the bank, just got in the bank. I was waiting to speak to a mortgage person, and behind me they locked the doors and weren't allowing any more than a certain amount of people in. Like, that rule changed while I was waiting, but they got on the ball quite quickly when it came to the how to get around it, because they had me do a Zoom meeting where they would go over the documents that I was going to be signing. So the Zoom meeting was in the morning, and they had all the information that I needed to know about the documents I was going to be signing. And then in the afternoon, I went in to sign the papers, and they had it set up so there was a little table right by the door. I couldn't walk past the table, and the lawyer was standing behind the counter, a good probably about 8 feet away, so they're following the rules. On the table, there was a little tape that indicated that I couldn't reach beyond this tape. And it just seems odd to have have that whole exchange so almost fear-based. When it comes to the changes since COVID, the thing that I find most uncomfortable is not having the community and support of my family. I am so used to it. Like, we are all best friends, right? So I don't have my sisters. You could talk on them on the phone. It's not the same as having the in-person contact. But more than anything else, it's that feeling of being isolated. You know, I mean, you do this for long enough, you get used to a lot of it, and you find workarounds. We are finally, the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we've been doing Zoom family gatherings. So everybody that wants to be on a Zoom call at 7 o'clock all logs into the Zoom call, and you know, so there is some continuity. But it does feel strange and lonely because you're moving into a new place, and my normal reaction when I'm moving into a new place is getting to know people a little bit. It feels a lot colder than what I would have hoped for, especially since one of the reasons that I moved to this place is the fact that it has a great sense of community. When it gets going again, there is a little pool, there's a little gym, there's a little amenities hall, and the people gather to do things. So I had been really looking forward to getting to know the people in the community more quickly by participating in things. Looks like it's going to be a while before that happens again. There's a lot of possibilities of what what life after COVID will be. One thing I think that was going to be a takeaway is that people will be a little bit more comfortable with technology. People that have never, ever bothered with Zoom or whatever are taking to it, finding that's a great way to stay connected. So I see that will be the same, and that will continue on, as well as doctor meetings via the various different platforms that they have now. So you don't have to go into the doctor every time you have, say, you need a prescription refill. I see that technology is going to have a positive effect on people's lives in the long term. I think that post-COVID, rather than focusing simply on in-person classes, I may actually consider doing video classes. Keep it small still, so that people have the ability to connect with me during and after the class. But I think people will be comfortable enough with the technology that is a possibility. That is something I could add to my skill set. No matter how proud you are, reach out. Reach out, touch, get in contact with somebody that you haven't talked to for a while. If you're an elder, make sure that you're keeping in contact with the young people, because you think that you don't want to be a burden, but the truth is that you've got a lot of life experience they don't have. Instead of being a burden, you can probably help bring more perspective to their lives at this point.
So is technology going to be something that brings us together post-COVID or leaves us behind? It's not an unimportant question. And let's face it, right now the big question is not only what post-COVID looks like, but what the next month or two will reveal. If we begin to reopen, will we be inviting more death and chaos? Some days I wonder if we can continue with this isolation a few more months, let alone another year. Can we do this? But we aren't the first to face this kind of fear and isolation. There's a poem making the rounds on the internet these days. Kitty O'Meara may have written it in 19th century Poland under Russian occupation, but it still rings true today. And people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played and learned new ways of being and stopped and listened deeper. Someone meditated, someone prayed, someone danced, someone met their shadow, and people began to think differently, and people healed. So don't despair, my friends. Stay home, stay safe. We will see each other soon.